So multiple states and cities have officially begun their guaranteed income programs for lower income residents. And everybody, long after the crisis first shut down the economy in early 2020, the broader economy has surpassed where it was before the crisis. Still, shortages and inflation persist, and some people haven't caught up to where they were early last year. Unemployment exceeds pre-crisis levels, even with jobs widely available in certain sectors. The federal unemployment bonus ended in early September, but millions of people remain short of food and behind on bills. So a fourth stimulus check would definitely help people around the country. In fact, in a few states, like California, they have recognized the need for more help and provide additional payments.
A quick question on the infrastructure bill, because in Baltimore, the president talked about how it will ease congestion at ports. But those projects are going to take time. So when do you think that funding will actually have a direct impact on the bottlenecks we're seeing now? And in the meantime, is there anything more the administration can do ahead of the holiday season?
Well, one of the steps we took, there's no question that addressing, being able to ensure that goods are moving around the country more safely, more easily, without congestion, is a big objective of this infrastructure bill the president will sign on Monday, and it will help hopefully address that over the long term. As we know, the supply chain issues are global, and we're seeing them, countries around the world impacted by the global supply chain issues. So, but what he's doing here, and what he's been quite focused on, is really attacking the issue at ports and the congestion at ports, which we know is a big way that goods are coming in and where goods are moved. So we announced, I think it was last week or earlier this week, it's all running together, that within 45 days we'll be launching $240 million in grants to improve ports. And in the weeks and months that follow, billions of dollars of additional money will be flowing to improve our critical port infrastructure. We've also seen big dramatic improvements at a number of these ports where they are quite crowded because the increase in demand and in goods that are moving has increased by about 20%. But because of the steps that have been taken in terms of moving empty containers, in terms of putting in place requirements or consequences for congestion, that has dramatically, we've already seen improvements in that. So the president announced this major ports plan. What we're focused on is getting this bill passed through the House next week, and we have every intention of working with leadership to get that done. And we will remain at a senior staff level at this point, engage closely with Senator Manchin, answer any questions he has. I will note that the vast majority of outside economists agree that this is not a bill that will add to inflationary pressure. And in fact, over the longer term, it will ease inflationary pressure. And I would note just a couple of people who at times haven't always been positive about our proposals. Former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers said about Build Back Better, I don't think that's an inflation problem. He said if he was in Congress, he would vote for it. Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi, I don't think the Build Back Better agenda will be inflationary. I think it's designed to lift long-term economic growth by improving productivity. That's public infrastructure, roads, bridges, broadband. That will make us more productive. That should ease inflation. As we know, increased economic productivity and growth eases inflationary pressure. And of course, our favorite, the 17 winners of the Nobel Prize in Economics, who wrote that because this agenda invests in long-term economic capacity and will enhance the ability of more Americans to participate, it will ease longer-term inflationary pressure. I would also note, and then I will keep cooking around here, but that one of the reasons they don't have concerns, as they've said in many of these interviews that I was just pulling out components of, is because it's fully paid for. And the reason it's fully paid for is because we're asking corporations, the wealthiest Americans, to pay more in taxes. That is something. You don't need to be kind of a sleuth here to understand why some Republicans are speaking out against this package. Is it because they're opposed to lowering childcare costs? Is it because they're opposed to making sure that preschool is available for families? Is it because they're opposed to lowering healthcare costs? No, it's because they don't want to raise taxes on corporations. We all know that. Hope people ask them those questions. Go ahead.
Jen, can I ask you about COVID very quickly? And
Sure.
Welcome back, by the way.
Thank you.
The Colorado governor just signed an executive order making everyone 18 and older eligible for a booster shot, which defies guidance from the FDA and from the CDC, which says that the booster shot should only go to those who are at higher risk or seniors. What does the White House make of that decision and move?
Well, we here in the federal government are guided by science and our country's public health officials who are constantly reviewing the data and to make their own independent evidence-based decisions. As you noted, this isn't currently the guidance that's being projected by our health and medical experts because they are looking at and understanding the data. So we would certainly continue to advise leaders across the country to abide by public health guidelines coming from the federal government.
If I can quickly, just to detail your own experience, do you have any lingering symptoms? Have you had anything that stuck with you?
I do not, fortunately. And as I noted earlier, I experienced a little bit of light fatigue in the first couple of days, but none that prevented me from participating in meetings here, engaging with the president and the team on the road, and certainly probably calling members of my team so many times they were tired of hearing from me.
As it relates to the White House, is the White House determined?
Relief payments were intended to ease the crisis' economic impact and support the economy in the process. But the third round of relief payments started back in March, courtesy of the American Rescue Plan. They seem to have worked, but have also helped many who didn't actually need the money. And financial insecurity is still widespread, and the loss of a job and the loss of hours were some of the main reasons over the course of the crisis. As before the crisis, many who are willing to work cannot find jobs, with the wages and benefits they need is 5. According to Mary Newman, a U.S. representative from Illinois, there is not a food shortage. There's not a shortage of Americans looking for work. There is a shortage of Americans willing to work. Do you believe that's correct, everybody? So the federal unemployment bonus and previous round of stimulus checks have helped Americans so far. The advanced child tax credit provides some additional support to families. But this money only goes so far, and some politicians feel that the payments have not been enough. A group of Democratic senators, including Ron Wyden, Elizabeth Warren, and Bernie Sanders, all wrote a letter to Biden, requesting recurring checks and automatic unemployment insurance tied to economic conditions. But we don't know if he's going to get it done, everybody. As the senators raise it in their letter, this crisis is far from over, and families deserve certainty that they can put food on the table and keep a roof over their heads. In an earlier letter written to Biden and Kamala Harris, led by Ilhan Omar, they said that recurring direct payments will help ensure people can meet their basic needs. Additional co-signers included New York's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Rashida Tlaib, 2 other notable names among House progressives. But the letter didn't place a number on the requested stimulus checks, but a later tweet put it at $2,000 per month for the length of the crisis. And more California stimulus checks are expected to go out on Friday. California's franchise tax board is going to send some 748,000 stimulus checks to qualifying residents who all filed paper tax returns this year. These $600 payments are part of the second Golden State Stimulus Program. The second round of stimulus checks for California residents is part of Gavin Newsom's $100 billion budget that he signed to law. As part of the plan, the state expects to provide about $12 billion in relief funds to 15.2 million California households.